Welcome to 40s and Free Agents. I'm Gregg Rosenthal, joined today by my two favorite ESPN employees, Mina Kimes and Daniel Jeremiah. We're back. We're doing it. Welcome, Mina. How's it going?
It's good. DJ, did they give you a badge? Have you cashed in the Disneyland discount yet?
True story. Not even as we're recording this, yesterday, my Disney passes came, and I cannot wait to take my 24-year-old daughter and 22-year-old son. They're just going to be
miss the window.
Yeah, it's a little tough on the timing there, but they did get the passes, so that's nice. Yeah.
I do feel left out as the Avengers here come together, but there's such a thing as loyalty in this business, DJ. I'm going down with the ship. I'm staying at NFL Media. We're gonna do it. But really excited.
He's got the shield. He's grasping the shield as he's going backwards. I love it.
We've got a few more episodes to go here on this season of 40s and Free Agents, and we decided to bring Mina back for a pretty simple exercise that we did a year ago, which was just our favorite players to watch in this draft. Doesn't mean we think they're going to be the best players, but just fun guys to talk about. That's how I looked at it. Guys I wanted to hear you two talk about that I think are just fun to watch. But I will start with our guest here, Mina. In this spot a year ago, you took Jahad Campbell. I think he's going to be great still. Who do you want to start with in terms of your favorite players to evaluate?
Who else did I take, Greg? Was the other ones aged poorly? You don't have to tell me.
I forget, to be honest. I just remember you started with Campbell.
I'm still a Campbell believer. No linebackers this year. I'll start with one of my few players who isn't injured. Well, actually, he is kind of injured, Casey Concepcion.
Let's go.
DJ, a theme in all of the names I sent to Greg is I just kept sending injured guys, which actually is kind of a good referendum on this draft in some ways, right? That like a lot of the special talents are ones who have question marks when it comes to their health. And I'll talk about the cornerback that I'm in love with. Actually, he sent you two corners. But let's start with Casey Concepcion because Greg, I think you saw me posting about him and you texted me that he might be, you had him at like 2 or something. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even go that high. I had him 3 in my wide receiver rankings. But I just think that suddenness and explosive playmaking is the most covetable trait when it comes to a receiver. His ability to get separation. And I had all kinds of comps circulating in my brain. The one that I ultimately ended up posting, though, this is very serious. And Daniel, you can use this on TV. I won't begrudge you.
Got my pen.
Is a Hot Wheels car launched out of my son's slam launcher. So you guys might not know what a slam launcher is. Greg, you might know.
I do.
Okay.
I know,
When you go bam, and we've hours. This is our house in a chokehold, and it sends the Hot Wheels car shooting across the house at like 90 miles per hour. I've fallen on many of them. And that's what Casey looks like against press coverage at the line of scrimmage. He looks like he's shot out of a slam launcher. And I know there's question marks about drops, but I want to hear, Daniel, your thoughts on those because I found it kind of puzzling. It's different from Quentin Johnston we were talking about for a litany of reasons. But one of the things I found interesting about KC is that he has some really awful drops on tape. And then he has some like weirdly difficult, tough catches. So I do think he is capable of improving his hands the next level. But what I know he is capable is that speed and separation.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up some notes here too, because I wanted to go back to it. There's a lot of things that I really like about him. And you've touched on the suddenness and the juice. You see all that stuff for sure. There's a polish to him as well. There's a polish to him at the line of scrimmage, and even when he gets to the top of routes, he's got a real good savvy and feel to it. Whereas I think you think about guys who have drops who are mechanical, that usually they're mechanical, they've got hard hands, there's a stiffness to them. Like that's when I get really freaked out. I mean, I don't love the drops, don't get me wrong. Like I factored him into how I slotted him. But when you look at how fluid and how loose he is, you look at the return background, which is going to translate well with the ball in his hands after the catch. All that stuff is so positive, and that's why he's an easy one to evaluate. In my opinion, he's a tough one to slot. If that makes any sense at all.
Interesting. Okay.
I just feel like you want to get there's no safe prospects, but that suddenness that Mina's talking about, I feel like you look at that and you're just like, yeah, that's going to work. That's going to translate. He reminds me in a little bit of a different way of Olave when Olave was coming out, and just like
I think he's stronger.
Right,
and
they're
Olave.
different players, but I guess I mean when I saw Olave's stop routes like at that level and his deceleration, I was like, well, that's going to work. You can just imagine that working. And I love that he not dominated, but he had great numbers as a true freshman against much older people in the ACC. You know, back in his previous stop, his drops weren't quite as bad there. I think he's going to open things up for others. Like he catched a lot of bad balls. They have some numbers that say like uncatchable ball rates, and he has one of the highest.
Started on the quarterback play.
Right, like the quarterback situation was rough
for a lot of these receivers,
yeah.
by the way.
And so, like, if the Rams at 13 thought he was their wide receiver too, just like I do have him as the number 2. I don't think that's that crazy. Do you?
I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all. I have to factor in. I can't just ignore it. You know, like I have to factor in the drops in terms of where I have him. And then you got this knee thing that popped up a little bit late too, which it sounds like everything will be fine there. But my thing on the drops, the other thing I'll point out too is you better be able to offset it with explosives, and he does that. So that's where you become a little bit more forgiving.
Drops are interesting too, right? Like, Dang, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of folks in the NFL about this, trying to evaluate whether or not it's something you can get better at. Because Quentin Johnson, very different player. He did get better at catching the football. He has undoubtedly improved in that regard. And for when I was talking about Casey on my pod, I went through historical prospects of receivers who had high drop rates in college, and they're all over the map, man. Like it's guys who failed in the league, and then it's guys who had success. I think Olave actually, right, had a pretty high drop rate, if I remember. Am I misremembering that? But it was definitely Nakua, Jamar Chase, even like they're some of the best receivers in football did improve in the league. And I think in college, because of the nature of quarterback play, can be a little bit tricky to evaluate. So it is real. It is an important part of playing the position. But, I Greg, share your feelings about just what will translate. So I did as far as where he goes, Daniel, when he came on my pod, we did a mock draft and he ended up with the Panthers at 19, which
perfect,
sick, right? I mean, with Ted McMillan on the outside, him inside out, like I would love that fit.
Yeah, he's a fun player. The other thing, that last thing I'll just say on him is like he's 196 pounds. This is not a 175-pound guy. Like he is a strong, sturdy player.
He just seems to fit where the NFL is right now with motion, and I can just imagine, you can see it in college, when he's in motion and you can just see the defense going, oh no, like he just causes a 5-alarm fire, and I can just see that at the next level. All right, DJ, who do you want to go with as your first player that you just love to?
I'm going to go to the trenches, and I think that we've talked about this, Greg, but not much talk about this guy because he's just boringly good. Is Venga Ioane? Like he just like every tape for a draft that we're trying to talk ourselves into things and we're making exceptions. Like he's just consistently good in every single game that you watch. Like he's the same guy. I'm just like that. This is just boringly good, and I think he's so boringly good that we just haven't discussed him. But when I watched him, it was really fun. It was really fun tape to watch. You do a lot of different things with them. They move him around and letting him work in space. And then with offensive linemen, I've always just had a fondness for once they get their hands on you, like the play is over. And you watch these poor guys trying to get away, and it's like they're flailing and they can't get off of him. He's so strong.
Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the more no-brainer prospects to me in the draft. Like, there's just so few questions about him. He also is, there's a few positions like this, right? Like linebacker is one, tight end, where there's such a large gap for me between him and the next interior offensive lineman that it'll be interesting to see whether he even gets to Baltimore at 14, right? But that would be the natural fit. I think that you hit on it. Just the way he finishes as a blocker is so impressive, so palpable. And I also think he can play in a variety of schemes. He has nice at his size movement skills. And so I think you could put him in a zone blocking offense, but he has the strength and power to, block for gap as well. So I just think he might be the most plug and play in the entire first round.
If we did an exercise, Mina, and I said, we'll take this entire draft class, you only get credit if they are on an all-pro list next year.
Yeah.
He might be my first pick. Like him and Sonny Styles might be like my first 2 picks in that, of guys who I think could like emerge at the top of their position relatively early in their career.
Not unlike Carson Schwarzenegger, who, Mina, you had him as one of your favorites last year, too.
There we go.
So nailed it.
Boom.
Nailed it.
Gotta win.
Nailed it.
I had two linebackers. Jeez.
Do you think you kind of mentioned, you didn't want to go at length on Schwarzenegger because you already did on Campbell, but you put it down for the record. Smart analyzing there. Do you think some teams that might agree with you, though, and just take Ioane before anyone else? Like before any of the tackles, because half the top tackles people are thinking about moving to guard. DJ, do you think teams might agree with you and he goes higher than
I think I would almost guarantee you that he's the top ranked offensive lineman on some people's list.
Okay, that's
I
awesome.
would almost he's really, really solid.
Okay, so I did look at this exercise a little differently. I just wanted to hear you two specifically talk about some of these guys, just guys I enjoyed watching. CJ Allen, linebacker from Georgia. I'm putting on my list here. This dude, he wants to kill everyone. He's always talking. He's a communicator. He's explosive. And the reason I want to talk about him is once I did watch him, he wasn't what I expected, which is I heard him talked about as this kind of like high ceiling, low floor guy. And I'm thinking, this guy is okay, maybe I heard the wrong people because
what content are you consuming, Greg?
I'm not gonna say who. I'm not gonna say who. It's a couple
that
of
is the opposite of how I view him. Actually,
okay.
Yeah.
Shot out of a cannon. Will do everything. Like the mindset. I think he's getting dinged a little because he's in this class with these two great linebackers ahead of him. I think you could go back over the last 5 years, and there's an argument that he is better than any linebacker. I think he, like coming into the class in terms of his ceiling, I think he's better than the two from last year. And you could go back as far as, when Devin White went in the top 10 for what it's worth, that like he has that sort of ceiling if everything goes well. If not, it could be a little Quay Walker-ish where he's lost a little in coverage and it's just like big plays. But man, I think he could be a real big weapon that like if he landed with the Bucs or something in the first round, like I would be very excited. Am I too excited to watch?
I'm going to cut Mina off here. Mina, this is why I hate Greg, okay? This is why I hate him. Because what he does is he takes a player that I like, right? I like a player.
I know.
And he goes so far past me that he puts me in a position to have to talk negatively about a player that I really like. That's
called podcasting, DJ.
It's good to have productive tension on it. No one wants to listen to a podcast where everybody agrees. Yeah. So I think that me and it sounds like DJ disagreeing with you is going to make for good content right now. I don't like him more than the two linebackers who I selected last year. For me, there is a lot to like. I think he's a really intelligent player. Like that was the thing that jumped out to me watching his tape. He knows how to find the football. He's really good at diagnosing run pass. He's constantly, he's often in the right position. I think where I'm a little bit slower to love is it doesn't have the athleticism to sort of build off of that to be like, I think like when you talk about the high ceiling, that's why my eyebrows kind of shot up. I don't see like the explosiveness and movement skills on tape that I personally really value at that position. So I think he can absolutely be a starter. I think he can start very quickly because of how smart he is. I just question whether or not he has the athletic tools and range to be like one of the guys that I really love watching. So that is my take.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to explain it. I doing the Charger games, I get to see the two different styles, right? I get to see Denzel Perryman, and then I get to see him play right next to Deion Henley. So he's going to be more on the Perryman thing. Now, I think he's a little more athletic than Perryman. I don't think he's as athletic as Henley, but he is very instinctive. He sees things well. He's the communicator. They rave about him. Like at Georgia, they told me when he got there in the spring, like he immediately got on the field and established himself as a guy, which that does mean something to me. Like at a place like that where you kind of command that, he's got the middle linebacker leadership traits, all those things. He's, tackle to tackle, he's excellent. But there's some stuff in coverage where he's a little bit tight and that get exposed a little bit when he's out in space. So that's just when I watch the Chargers every week, I feel like I see both styles. And they can both work. They can both be effective. I just think he's more on the Perriman side than on the Henley side.
I don't know what Perriman was like coming out of college, though. If you took his best 10 coverage, again,
he's instinctive in zone coverage. I'm just talking about
some of his coverage reps are incredible and picking up some of the receivers. And to me, he is a little not. I don't know if anyone's sideline to sideline, but he there were plays where he covered a lot of. I could see him like in a floor. Everyone in a Flores defense would be fine, but he is a guy that will sacrifice for his teammates. You want to send him into the double teams. You want to send I just feel like you could do a little bit of everything. It could be a lot of fun. All right,
but I like him, Greg. He's like I'll tell you right now, he's my 35th player. So
yeah,
I really like him. But yet you put me in a position where I have
Tampa
to be the bad guy.
I'm saying in this class, maybe it's more like top 25.
Where I start considering is Houston at 28, and that's when it becomes kind of an option.
He would, and that would be great because they would put him. He would be the perfect Houston Texan linebacker. But if Minnesota got him, that'd be fun too. All right, Mina, go ahead. Some other players, by the way, you had. Trey Amos. I don't know why we're only picking your players. Mine was like Kyle Williams, who I still believe.
That must be that we didn't love ours, and ours kind of fell off then.
Amari and Hampton you had, who I'm still buying.
Technically, I think Mina got to pick first because I promise I would have liked Schlesinger on there, but I think he needed a punch.
Classic. The Eagles would have drafted Russell Wilson. Okay.
100%.
I'll do one of my injured guys. I love Jermod McCoy's 2024 tape so much. Probably because your question was like, who is your favorite to watch? I think his game against Ryan Williams in 2024 is like one of those like movies I'll go, but like it's like Clueless for me. I want to go back and watch it over and over because it's such a great battle. And this was Ryan Williams. Well, that's a whole other conversation. But in 2024, it was an awesome matchup, and I think you saw a lot of the traits that, for me, make him perhaps the cornerback with the highest upside in the draft. And very angry at DJ because I thought I was so clever coming up with my Stephon Gilmore comp. And I do put comps, and then I Googled just to see if anyone else did it. And of course, he got to it before I did because they're the exact same size. He has similar fluidity in man coverage, the foot speed, again, from 2024. I guess I should have started saying, Jeremiah McCoy was injured last year. He did not play. He had an ACL. I think his ability to make plays on the football from off and zone, his closing speed when he comes down on it. He's got a great wingspan. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's very obvious on tape. So I just look at him and I think his upside, if he's healthy, and of course he ran a super fast 40 at his own pro day, but didn't do it, traditional offseason, is worth betting on because that is a really special set of traits he has.
Yeah, I think to me, this just comes down to the doctors, like what do your doctors say about him and where is he at in the process and how comfortable are with you? Because the 24 tape is the best DB tape in the draft. Like it's really, really good. So it just becomes risk assessment. We need Mina. How can you get your medical degree in a year? Like when we come back and do this next year, so
it's why I'm so glad I'm not an NFL team, Dan, because it's like imagine you're like, I don't know, Dallas at 12 or whatever, and you're looking at this player and you got to make that call. And we've seen so many examples of like medical concerns that ended up not being anything or medical issues that ended up being like damning. And it's just a fine line in the draft. And I never know how to evaluate it. But the fact that he did run was at least promising.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing. And Delane to me had really good tape this year. Last year was not good, but this year's tape was really consistent and steady. I feel like you're playing the floor game just based off of the health. You'd have Delane there with the floor, but if you're chasing the ceiling, it'd be McCoy. Another side note on that, they're like 1 pound difference, but one looks so much bigger than the other one on tape. It's kind of one of those weird things. He's longer. He's an inch taller, but McCoy, when you watch McCoy and Delane back to back, McCoy looks like such a bigger guy for a guy who's 1 pound different.
And you could galaxy brain it a little bit and think, well, I'd rather his torn ACL be at the end of the 24 season rather than the 25 season. Like he's recovered, and today's torn ACL is not the same as 20 years ago for the most part. And that's where, the
better an ACL than a foot. The other player.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I know. I got some injury guys coming up too. All right, DJ, give me another one.
First of all, they did put ours in there. So, I mean, Jedi Barron did not start for Denver last year, but it's a great defense. I'm going to give myself a pass there. Jack Besh didn't do anything, but at least Travion Henderson and Tyler Warren, I got something there. Greg went with the Milroe, Izaraku, Kyle Williams trifecta. So, I mean, I think Mina's clearly got the gold medal. I'm very secure in my silver medal status.
No, I mean, I'm looking for fun. And Kyle Williams, in terms of like 40-yard catches per target, might have led the NFL. I think he had like
I love
three big plays and about 12 targets.
You just love speed, man. Like you love Jamison Williams, you love Kyle Williams, you love Concepcion. You're a fiend for it.
I guess so.
You know what the one he bragged about the most, though, Mina? Greg knows what it is.
George Pickens, number 2?
100%.
I'm
I'm like, Greg, it's not anything about the ability, man.
Well,
Greg thought that he's
DJ
like, I out-scouted the whole league. Like, you guys
DJ
are idiots. This guy's really talented.
Rashad
like,
Bateman or something, you know.
Freaking Sherlock Holmes over here, being able to sniff out the talent of George Pickens on tape.
Boy.
All right, am I up or are you up?
Yes, I'm waiting.
All right, I'm going to give you a fun one. This is Kaleb Proctor, who's a defensive tackle from Southeast Louisiana. In a draft that I do not love the defensive tackle class, especially as it pertains to rushing the quarterback. He has got some upfield twitch and some juice and can rush the quarterback. I remember highlighting Milton Williams when he was coming out and like somebody you'd identify in those middle rounds who's got tons of juice. And, obviously he exceeded expectations, but he's not, I don't have as high a grade as I did on Milton Williams, but he's in that category. And to me, he's that target guy. You want to target a guy in the middle rounds who you think can give you some interior pass rush, it'd be him. How
big is he? I was just looking it up because I remember. Okay. Yeah, he looks small.
He is Kaleb Proctor, 6017, 291. He ran 479.
It's always funny when we're in this position. You're like, yeah, he looks small. It's like 6'1". Imagine seeing that man in real life.
Well,
297 pounds. Elijah Cansey size, right? Yeah.
See, I know enough to know that, DJ, if you're seeing him this way, do you think that he is going to be one of those targets? Maybe a higher ranked Cole Strange, who we didn't know, but many teams were targeting back as like, oh, he's going to be our third round guy. Do you think, and is that going to push him up maybe a little higher than people?
Yeah, I think he was kind of in that, like, start the process. You're like, I'd love to get this guy in the 4th round. And as you go through the process, you're like, you probably have to take him in the 3rd round. Like that's kind of where he is for me.
Yeah. I mentioned Cansey because I haven't watched a lot of him, only a little bit. I was trying to remember how I wrote down small and reminds me a little Elijah Cansey. And Cansey went
juicy.
Wins with immediate penetration, but lacks the size.
You get banged around in there. Yeah. But I'd rather have him, and we'll get to it later. But there's another defensive tackle talked about in the 1st round. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'd rather just get this guy in the 3rd round.
Really?
I have some like 3rd round types coming up, but since Mina, sniped Concepcion, not sniped, but we both love him. We haven't had a Jeremiah Love conversation on this particular show. And so I'm just going to put him out there as my guy because as I want to hear what you guys think. And I know you've talked a lot about draft value, Mina, when it comes to Love, but we haven't.
I don't know.
Titans fans are not happy with Biggie. Although I did I see that you had him drop?
I had him go to Kansas City with the 9th pick.
This is fan brain. They're so mad at me now. And when if they pass on him, they're going to be like, Mina Kimes was right. Screw that guy. We never liked him.
Yeah.
Value is everything. So anyway.
My favorite part of the process is the fact, like I remember my first list. This would be a great exercise when you put out your first something. I remember putting out my first list and the most blowback I got was, you have the white safety from Oregon as like a top 20 player. Like that's insane. And then now I guarantee if you look at some of the same usernames would be like, how do they can't pass on him at 12. They've got to take him at 12 if he's there at 12. Like it's
and the full you have Love. What do you have, Love? 2 in your top 50 prospects right now?
2 in my top 50. Yeah.
But you went on Rich Eisen on Sports Center. How about that? What was that like, by the way, DJ?
I don't know. I mean, it's just worlds are colliding. That's where it is right now. So it's very, very bizarre. It was fun.
And you had like a mini mock draft preview. It's not going to be your official one, but yeah, you had Love falling to 9 in that case. And if that happens, I do think people are overthinking it because just his feet with that size is just so unique. And I think if you just went with size, speed, measurements, all that, he's in balance. Like it's obviously like a very unique running back prospect, but when you put it all together and his change of direction and like there was a play in the Miami game where, he steps a foot inside and he sees that it's cut up. And then immediately can explode outside. It was actually Ruben Bain trying to get him. And there was a penalty on the play. And then he does one of his full speed hurdles and keeps his balance to get the first down. And it's just so freaky that I do think he's in that like Bijan, maybe Saquon, but I think he's as good or better a prospect as Saquon. Like, this is one of the best prospects of the last 25 years. And so at his position, I mean. And so maybe you disagree, Mina, that he's just not that good. But if he is that good, then it just seems crazy to me to be thinking about questionable tackle prospects, for instance, ahead of him. And if you do believe in him that much, you're going to be right. Like, you could end up with a Tyree Wilson over Bijan Robinson type of thing if you're looking at positional value.
If he did drop to 9, you said, it would be overthinking it. Who is the team, though, that you would point to as like, that was a mistake ahead of the Chiefs?
Like, if anyone takes a tackle, I feel like that's like if the like. I think
the Cardinals, you would never pick him for them. So like, you know what I mean? Like,
but I don't think that's that crazy for them to pick him. Like, that doesn't seem like a mistake to me.
The Cardinals?
I mean, it makes more sense.
How many years into his career before they'd be willing?
Yeah, I was gonna
maybe
say
able
that.
to like support him.
Well, like who? I mean, we've seen like, was Bijan Robinson a mistake with Tyler Algier? Why is that like?
Well, they already had.
I think their line was in a better spot. I think that's.
Are we ganging up on Greg? Is that how this?
No, I don't like to.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think if there's a guy, you were talking about like the first team All Pro like possibility or whatever.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love would have a chance. And I think the bigger thing is like, would you rather like if you think he could be a Hall of Fame player, and maybe there aren't that many people that do think that, but if he's at that level of running back prospect, I do think that goes over a lot of guys like that aren't like normally top 10 picks. A lot of these guys would not normally be a top 10 pick anyways.
Who did you have Washington taking?
Dan. I had Washington trading out.
Oh, trading. Oh, yes, I saw that, and I was like, Washington should absolutely do that. Because that would be the team, to go back to my original question, where I might be like, maybe you overthought this one, right? Like, if they were to take a receiver, that's because, but it's the only team where when I look at the roster and what shape they're in, where I feel personally a little bit more comfortable. However, I remember I saw your mock and I thought, no, there's absolutely zero chance in hell.
They have no second round pick. They're just a target to me. And I off the subject, but I just look at the Jets and all the capital they have. Like they can afford to be aggressive and go up and get a receiver they desperately need. So that's why I did that one. But to get back to your conversation, I want to hit Mina on this one because I haven't even been on since this came out, so I don't know what the feedback. I'm sure that there's people losing their minds about the Kansas City Love thing, but I'd love to get Mina's thoughts on it because it's a very layered conversation. I don't think it's an easy one, but I think it's a layered conversation.
The Kansas City taking Love, I have two thoughts on it. On one hand, setting aside Walker, who they signed, it's really a 2-year deal, whatever. On one hand, I feel a little bit itchy because they have such great needs at such high value positions: wide receiver, corner, edge, right? 3 of the most expensive positions in football are ones that they could stand to address. But on the other hand, the 2 first-round picks does change the calculus a little bit. And I think what matters here is how they feel about their ability to get an impactful receiver, corner, or edge with that second first-round pick. I think receiver is a thing where they could really find someone there. But boy, that's asking a lot of Steve Spagnuolo if you go all offense. So I guess it wouldn't be what I would do, but if they really believe they could get another contribute, having that extra pick from the McDuffie trade does help a lot. I do think Chiefs fans are leaning a little bit too hard on we can find a corner in the 5th round every year. Like that's a little, that's hubris in my opinion, even though obviously the track record speaks for itself. And I do like Noah Williams, but I have to look at your draft and see who was available to them. Was there anyone available that they passed up on?
Bain was still there. Downs was still there.
Right now.
Downs was still there. Yeah.
Downs would be really nice. Defense. And then, but you know what I mean about receiver? Doesn't it feel like they can, especially Tate gone, it's like they get a receiver later, I feel.
Yeah. Well, here's the other side of the coin that I'm looking at here. So a couple different things. Number one, you had Love notoriously with Jadarian Price, was at his best complemented with another back. Kenneth Walker complemented with Charbonnet. Like, I think having those two guys together would be dynamic. Bieniemy comes in. You got Mahomes coming off an injury. We obviously want to be able to run the football and make people pay for how they've played us for the last 5 years. And now we've got a way to keep two elite backs fresh who, oh, by the way, can also spark some creativity and rejuvenate the mind there with Andy Reid of like, I can get my screen game going, that I go pull out all my LaShawn McCoy stuff that I did back in the day, and I can reintroduce it here with a more dynamic version of that. I want to put both those guys on the field and be creative and let him roll out of the slot. I'm going to throw bubbles to him, all this kind of stuff. Like, I just think it could kind of spark some life into an offense that nobody's really talked about, has been so unexciting and unwatchable for the last few years.
The other thing about the Chiefs is, like, and I've seen people mock offensive linemen to them. I think their line is fine. I mean, Simmons was a hit. They have more in the build. Like, they could continue adding there. Obviously, you're betting on recovery from injury, but like, that to me is another reason. Like, Jeremiah Love, the reason why Washington was also something I'm okay with. Your first question is, what's the status of your offensive line? Mm-hmm. Chiefs good. I that kind of feels.
I don't love more though. Like,
yeah, you'd rather you want them to upgrade.
No, I mean, they pot committed, so to speak, but I think that they could be better there. And then Simmons, there was reasons why he fell in the draft, and he unfortunately wasn't available for a good chunk of the season. So he talent-wise is phenomenal. Like, he's as talented as anybody in the draft last year at that position.
Well, it definitely requires some internal scouting.
Yeah.
I think at a certain point, isn't it just like how much do you believe in these players that you are just like if he is at the Bijan level, like you're just not going to regret that pick. And I just think certainty is so hard to find. Like, and maybe it's not certain,
Like, if they lined up, I'll ask both of you this. If they lined up next year with Noel Williams and Chris Johnson at corner, and being coached by Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo, I think they'd be fine at corner. How do you guys feel about that?
Chris Johnson. He was one.
I mean, they won a Super Bowl with Jalen Watson and I forget who the other guy was playing as rookies, playing 30 snaps, and Watson turns into a great player. It's tough to keep doing it. They do have your guy Christian Fulton, by the way, still there,
still kicking around.
Okay,
I want Chris Johnson on the Seahawks.
It's my Jeremiah Love guy. I'm just saying, like, let's not overthink it too much. If
let's go Seahawks for a second.
I never got the word if you guys even believe in him as that much of a prospect.
I like R. Mason Thomas as a fit with Seattle as well. Is there a couple Seahawks?
Yeah, I think Edge is a sneaky one that people are sleeping on for Seattle, right? Because you've got Lawrence is older. You lost Mafe. Chenna's not a spring chicken either. So yeah, I definitely think they could go. I actually like the edges who are going to be. I like the edges and quarters that they'll be picking from if they're to stay, but they might not stay in the first round.
That's a good call. I kind of expect. I was almost surprised Nuos was still on the roster. So you're right. That could be a very different looking group. All right, let's take a break and let's come back with some more favorite players of the draft. Okay, we are back. I have made a fool of myself. Mina, you are next up. This is very important. Your third pick here.
Well, should I do Chris Johnson here? Because I just said I love him, but I didn't say why. It's probably because it took me a while to get to him. I'm doing defensive players this week. We probably won't even talk about him that much. Although, I don't know. People are starting to watch. I feel like he's climbing. San Diego State cornerback. I feel like I should start by saying that. I just could not believe how technically refined he looked to me on tape. And obviously not always the greatest competition, but the game that I watched first was Washington State. No.
He killed Cal.
Yeah. So I did watch that one. Washington State was the one that I watched first. And I just found him to be so much more complete than I would have expected for a corner that I hadn't heard of talked about being in the top 4 or 5 players at the position. Good size, good measurables, such a smooth mover, but then just the plays on the football. I mean, always it feels like his hands are in there, jarring it loose, good ball skills as well. So I just thought, the corner being a need for Seattle, Oh, so I think he can play in different schemes as well, man zone. So yeah, I just think, to me, when you start getting into that tier of corners, your Colton Hoods, your Avion Terrells, I thought there's some really good ones, but all of them I can kind of point to like, oh, I don't love this. I was surprised by how complete Chris Johnson's game was when I watched him. Like, you can tell me what the ding on him is, DJ. Like, I was struggling to find it when I was watching him.
So here's this is like one of my fascinating case studies with this draft, because with him, when I watched him, all the stuff Mina talked about, I loved. The only question was, okay, like some recovery speed stuff. I'm like, okay, what does the pure top speed look like? Well, then he goes to the combine and he runs thing 4.4 flat. Like, he ran plenty fast. He had a phenomenal workout there, by the way, as well, just to see how loose he was. He's real sturdy in his lower. Like, he is a strong, sturdy dude. So all that. So then I come back and I was talking with somebody and I'm like, did I really like him? He's like my 35th player here at the end of the process. But I saw the time speed, but there was I did go through my notes, and he goes, you realize San Diego State, and I live in San Diego. So once he said this, it connected. He goes, it's the worst playing surface, like one of the worst playing surfaces in the country, to the point where the MLS team that plays there had complained about it because the turf is always flying up. And so I go, okay, it was like a detective. I go back through all my notes, and I'm like, the question where I questioned some recovery speed, play speed, I go, was that a home game or a road game? Home game, home game, home game. So I was like, it was like this little investigative journey
a mystery. I love it
on there. And I was like, and then they said the GPS numbers are exceptional.
Game
so when his in-game GPS numbers, even at San Diego State, are really, really good. It's just that in some of the recovery transition stuff, there's turf flying around a little bit, and you see the sand popping up in the air. So it just messed with your eyes a little bit, oddly.
Interesting. Washington State was at Washington State, which is when I watched that, looking at it. I'm like, what did I?
You're not going to help out the local team here. They're hurting their draft prospects with their lousy field.
Because I didn't, throughout this process, I didn't hear of him being mentioned as a first-round pick, but I've started to hear it a little bit more lately, which is what sort of prompted me to finally sit down. Do you think there's any chance he sneaks into the end of the first?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think there's, those, you get to the last handful of picks when you're going through the process of, you're like, okay, there's 15 guys that could go in here. Like, and he's really clean. So if you're picking towards the bottom of the first round, do you want to swing for the fences, or you want to just take a really clean, exactly what you're getting player?
Chiefs, Dolphins, Seahawks could all take a corner.
Yeah.
I should mention that. So
I like it when you two agree on a player, because DJ has been talking up Chris Johnson as kind of an underrated guy for a while. So that's just one to put in bold. All right, DJ, you got another one here.
All right, I'll stay at the corner position. Every year I go through this exercise at the very end of the process where I look at my top 50, and it's the dumbest thing, but I just do it. And I go, okay, who do I have outside the top 50 that if they get picked in the top 50, I'm going to be sick to my stomach because I liked him, but I just didn't put him where I, should have put my money where my mouth was, basically. And I did it with Jalen Hurts when he was coming out. And I'm like, I understand the flaws, but I'm like, he's just so competitive and tough. Like, I'm just going to put him in there. So I put him in there in like the late 40s or what have you. So I've done this every year. And this year I did it with D'Angelo Pons. Because I'm like, he's been my undersized player. He's so small, but he's so competitive and he's so tough. And this is what got me over the threshold. I've had him like in all the 150 will come out, but he'd been like in the 50, 60 range, which is going to put him in the bottom of the second round. He's an exception, 100%. But I was talking to a team, and they, we were talking about comps, and I kind of brought up the ones that came to my mind that I, looked at in terms of Ladarius Webb, Avonte Maddox, like some smaller guys who I thought were really good players. And he's like, well, we go back a little bit further in our database. Like everything, it's a different game we're playing now. I get that. But if you look at Aaron Glenn's numbers compared to him, they are identical. And if you read the competitive background and the intelligence stuff, identical. So if you're going to bet on an exception, it helps to have at least something I could grasp onto. So I grasped onto that, and I got him into the back of my top 50.
Who is the little TCU corner? It's little. I know.
The Chargers took him.
Yeah.
Not.
Because he was so fun.
Jason Verrett. Yeah. Is that who you're thinking of?
No. I'm thinking about the one recently. Not Verrett.
Mina's burned because she tried to make an exception with Emmanuel Forbes a couple of years ago. I mean, everyone loved Emmanuel Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes is a fun little player.
But at least he was tall.
Last year. At least he had some flashes last year.
No, the little TCU. I should stop saying little. Sorry, TCU cornerback.
Oh no, Tomlinson.
Tomlinson. Yeah,
Went to the Rams, I think.
Yes, the Rams. Right, because he played the Rams preseason. Yeah. He must have been about the same size as Pons, like 5'8" and change.
I think he might even have been smaller.
He was little, but he also was like weirdly good at like climbing the ladder against bigger receivers and making plays in the football. I mean, weirdly he reminds me of like the feistiness and Pons is a better player. I don't know if I can get there with that size.
I mean, I love the name though.
Challenge.
I want to continue the theme. I'm going to pick a similar player then too. I was on the fence because I want to hear you guys talk about it. It's partly because of an age question here. Keionte Scott.
Oh yeah,
he's fun.
Nickel. I'm kind of a candidate to be a nickel slot player. I think from Miami, he was that guy. 192 pounds, so not that small, but he plays like he's 240. I mean, he thinks he's 240. He plays like a linebacker. Like Jalen Petrie is a high bar, but if he hit everything that he could ever hit, that's the type I think of player that Keionte Scott is. Just so aggressive, forced fumbles, like just hilarious, talking trash. And also I just think maybe where the league is going in terms of he can fit in a lot of these new defenses. But he is 25 years old. He didn't really break out until his 6th season in college, but really fun. I'm curious. I've not heard you, DJ, say anything about Keionte
He's in my top
Scott.
50.
He is now. Oh, wait, is he?
He's been in my top 50.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about him.
No, I love the way he plays, and it's not just because he's a San Diego kid. I can't say kid because he's 25, but
I just called a guy little like 5 times. So
that's fine.
I think kid is fine now for 25.
24. I think he's 24, right? 24 years old. No, yeah, he plays I'm big on conviction with secondary players. I think that's a very important aspect of it. Right or wrong, just play with conviction. Just trust your eyes and go. He plays with the utmost conviction, and especially against the run. If he sniffs its run, he is gone. And he just plays so fast and so aggressive. He ran like low 4.3s to go along with he flew. He
missed
flew.
That. God.
Yeah, he flew. It was reported like on social media that he ran in the 4.2s. That was not right. I'll give you the official time. He ran 4.33. 5.112, 193, and he ran 4.33.
I mean, he destroys
dynamic blitzer.
Some people. It's kind of like CJ Allen, but obviously smaller. Like he destroys people considering his size. It's a lot of fun.
He was a fun player to watch. He would have definitely been on my list as I saw with the names you guys had on there. That one would have been mine just for the fun factor.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching him just jump routes, you see like the A&M playoff game. He makes a ton of plays in that one where they're trying to spit the ball out, and he just is all over it. So again, I think that player has more value now than maybe it did, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I did see, I haven't got great stuff on with coaches at Miami yet on him. I try and dig something up, but I've seen interviews with him. He's an impressive dude, man. Like when you see him talking ball, like very, very impressive.
If I was doing like an all honey badger team,
there you go,
or draft team, he would be. I was just like, but you guys talk about the league. I think about guys like an Upton Stout or in San Francisco. I was trying to think of like some of the like just nickels
Cater
who play
Kohu,
with their hair
he's a
on
little
fire.
like
yeah.
A little like. We're running out of time. DJ's got TV. Let's just do a speed round. If there's anyone else you just want to get in for the record.
I just think Max Clare is going to be a good tight end in the NFL. At minimum, good. Took me a while to get to him as well because the tight ends, I was like, no, they were going first round. I just watch him and I see an NFL skill set very clearly. I love the way he moves. I love how good he is catching the football. I think he's very quarterback friendly. I think he is a sufficient blocker and can obviously build on that at the next level. But put that tight end from Stanford, sorry, I should start by saying that, in a play action heavy offense and let him cook.
Yeah. And I liked him better at Purdue, which, by the way, this is the only draft I can remember where every player I've said that they were better at Purdue. I've said it with Deion Burks, I've said it with Dylan Thieneman, and I've said it with Max Clare. Purdue almost had a great team. They were so close to just could have kept the gang together. They would have had quite a team last year. I'll do one more. Traden Stukes. Traden Stukes from Arizona, who can do a little bit of everything. He can cover in the slot. He can play in the post. He's rangy. He's fast. He's instinctive. Like he's a good player. I think he's got a chance to go in the second round when it's all said and done.
Maybe filling a similar-ish spot, or if he's not just a traditional safety as my guy Keionte Scott. I just want to throw out for the record, like Chris Ball, wide receiver from Louisville, and then Ted Hurst from Georgia State. This is such a weird class that these guys, man, they look like NFL receivers. If you catch Chris Ball in the right rep where he's just catching a slant in full motion, I mean, he looks like A.J. Brown or something. He's coming off a torn ACL, but man, these two guys look like NFL receivers. Hurst from Georgia State, they were 1-11. He compares himself to T. Higgins. I'm not sure I see that. I saw Sam Monson comp him to Roy Williams, and I thought that, man, that is perfect. But these guys look like NFL players. I don't know if it's going to work out, but as in this class where I just don't know if it's that big of a drop between like wide receiver 4 and some of these fun third round guys. They're fun.
Do you remember, obviously, hopefully you guys do, you remember the Alanis Morissette song, Isn't It Ironic? Like the extra verse you could add on that would be about how Chris Bell goes on to be the rookie of the year and Greg's beating his chest, but isn't it ironic because he called him Chris Ball, so it's like you can't really take all the credit for it, you didn't even know his name.
Post
Why did I write down Ball? This is
there's multiple Bells, so it's a little confusing. I'll defend you, Greg. There's
Skylar Bell.
It's easy to get those. They're very different sizes, but but you're right. The receiver, there's like 5 or 6 like just big fast dudes.
Dribbling.
One of them is probably going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one. That's the problem.
No, it's tough. Hurst is a lot of fun. All right, we did it.
I do love
Hurst. To the end of draft season.
Thanks for not calling her Patty, by the way. I thought you might, with the name situation, you got Ted right, so that's good.
I mean, you're making Patty Hurst references.
It's a lot of names to remember.
I'm catering to the 60 to 75 audience that I know is the core of your group here, Greg.
You're calling mid-20s guy kids. That's it for 40s and free agents. Thank you, Mina. Everyone watch Mina on NFL Live. Of course, check out her podcast, the Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny. And I'm looking forward to the two of you ESPNers, doing some collaborations in the future. I'll be watching it on my television.
I'm just trying to get some of that sweet Hot Wheels money that Mina's got coming.
I'm just glad we revisited our records from last year, personally.
There we go. Mina gets
really
You guys got to go first. I had to clean up whatever names were left. That's not fair.
Come on.
We'll see you next week. We got one more before the draft. See you then.